Coming up on Mountain News at 5:30, worry is growing among hospital staff and emergency service workers as COVID-19 cases continue to increase with no end in sight. And we'll take a look at projects completed by the Civic Fellow Internship Program in Hazard and how they are making a difference.
Things are staying cold around the mountains tonight and tomorrow as well. I'll have the very latest on the way right now at 5:30.
Dedicated to southern and eastern Kentucky, this is WYNT Mountain News at 5:30.
Good evening, I'm Steve Hensley. Dangerous cold temperatures are expected the next 2 nights, and we might not get above freezing again until Saturday afternoon. Meteorologist Evan Hatter has the latest as the snow begins to move out and the frigid air moves in. Evan.
Well, the frigid air has already taken up residence throughout much of the area so far today. Some of us, in fact, most of us have had trouble getting into the mid-20s, and there's at least one station around the area having trouble getting into the 20s at all. Out there right now, you still see many of us dealing with overcast. I-75 at London dealing with that. Roads mostly dry, all the snow there on the grassy surfaces there next to the road, but we'll have to watch for a few slick spots overnight. Mountain Parkway at Slade, similar story. Actually trying to get a little bit of sunshine there as the sun starts to set this evening. We told you, it's staying cold, low to mid-20s around the region. It's 22 Jackson and in Pikeville, 23 Prestonsburg, just 21 in Logan, West Virginia. It's 19 degrees right now in Wise, Virginia. It feels like 9. Feels like 14 in London and 13 in Somerset. So we're getting those northerly breezes, and that's going to bring us a chance for some of those wind chills to continue out there. Some flurries continue to work through the Big Sandy, getting a little bit of fetch of moisture off of the Great Lakes, actually allowing a few flurries to develop this afternoon. It looks quite wintry if you were to see the camera from Pikeville right now. Mid-teens overnight, mostly cloudy skies turn partly cloudy, though we'll see those clouds increase yet again as we head into the morning hours on our Friday. So a chilly forecast on the way as we finish out the work week, and I'll have the full details on that coming up in just a few minutes. Steve?
All right, Evan, thank you very much. A new study compares protection from COVID based on prior infection or vaccination. It's of considerable interest now as the Omicron variant continues to spread widely across the U.S. CBS's Bradley Blackburn reports from New York.
I have no clue it would be like this.
Pamela Maples didn't get vaccinated because she thought it was worse than getting COVID. Now she's one of the 286 COVID patients at St. Luke's Hospital of Kansas City. Only 15 are vaccinated.
It's really profound sadness because we have the saddest stories you've ever heard in your life.
COVID cases are surging across the U.S. The CDC reports an average of 1 in 4 tests is coming back positive. A new study based on COVID cases in New York and California last summer and fall compared protection from vaccination versus prior infection. The CDC found people who were both vaccinated and had survived COVID had the most protection. Unvaccinated people with a past infection were a close second. By the fall, when Delta was widespread but boosters weren't, the unvaccinated who had a prior infection had a lower case rate than vaccinated people who had never had COVID. Health officials are also reinforcing CDC guidance about the importance of wearing the best type of mask to protect yourself.
High filtration masks, including N95 respirators, KN95, and KF94. Provide better protection than cloth masks or even surgical masks.
But wearing any kind of mask at all is still controversial in some areas. The subject brought fierce debate to a school board meeting in Roanoke County, Virginia.
Masks do nothing for us. We still have to quarantine and students are still getting sick. The vaccinated and unvaccinated all alike.
She doesn't have any trouble wearing it. It doesn't bother her.
Earlier this week, Virginia's governor made it optional for students in public schools to mask indoors, but some districts decided they won't change their mask-wearing policies. Bradley Blackburn, CBS News, New York.
The new mask rule in Virginia is set to go into effect on Monday, but a lawsuit is also pending. Inflation is increasing much faster than salaries. The Anderson Economic Group reports that the price of new cars increased by nearly 12% from December 2020 to December 2021, but wages went up less than 5% during that same time period. That means the average American needs to work 3 weeks more during the year in order to afford a typical new vehicle. For a used car, they would need to work 5 weeks more compared to 1 year ago. Buying a home is getting pricier. Mortgage rates jumped for the third week in a row. Because of the higher rates, there's less purchasing demand, but the market is staying competitive thanks to low supply and high home prices. The National Association of Realtors says the median home sale price was nearly $347,000 in 2021. That's increased almost 17% from the year prior. It's also the highest on record since 1999. We continue to track some breaking news from the state capitol this evening. During a flurry of action this afternoon, lawmakers moved fast to override Governor Beshear's vetoes on redistricting bills. The bill involving the new state house districts is now law. The bill dealing with U.S. congressional boundaries is expected to get final passage soon.
Significantly better than the maps of 2012 and 13. The Jefferson County, for example, is much more compact.
I vetoed the maps because I believe that they are unconstitutional and a clear example of political gerrymandering. I believe that voters should choose their elected representatives. Elected representatives should not choose their voters.
The House called House Bill 2 to override the governor's veto, then quickly voted 69 to 23 to override. The Senate followed by a vote of 24 to 10. We hope to have much more about this from Frankfort coming up tonight at 6. All too often, people who graduate from high school or college want to leave their hometowns for good. But One Hazard organization is working to keep young Kentuckians within the small communities that built them. WYMT's Alyssa Williams spoke with those behind the City of Hazard Civic Fellowship about what they are doing or what they are looking for in this year's applicants.
Created 4 years ago, the City of Hazard Civic Fellowship aims to give young Kentucky leaders a voice to initiate change in their communities.
The kids are just kind of learning what it takes to make things happen in a small city, and that their ideas as 18 to 20-year-olds are not only valued but can happen over the course of a couple months.
Luke Glazer, Hazard City Commissioner and Fellowship Coordinator, says over the past few years, fellows helped to create a dog park within the community, created a young professionals organization, and helped to revitalize and beautify downtown Hazard.
And this city has one of its strongest points has always been taking young people who are hungry and ambitious and who want to make things better and just letting them run with it. And that's led to a lot of the growth that we've seen in the last couple of years.
Taylor Williams, a former fellow of the organization, says she gained several valuable skills during the internship.
So it's a great learning experience. You walk away from it with something tangible that you've done and contributed to that people across the community reap benefits from long after the 8 weeks of your summer.
The organization is currently looking for 2022 applicants to take part.
Regardless of your interest, we're just looking for somebody who's passionate, who cares about their community, and who sees it as an area of possibility.
Looking to give the young people of today the skills they need to impact tomorrow. In Hazard, Alyssa Williams, WYMT Mountain News.
Applications to become a City of Hazard Civic Fellow are open until February 19th. You can find the application on the City of Hazard's Facebook page, and we also have it on our website at WYMT.com. A grassroots organization called the Hip Hop Caucus held a rally at the White House today, calling on President Biden to cancel student loan debt. During the presidential campaign, President Biden pledged to cancel at least $10,000 in student debt per borrower. The president has yet to fulfill that promise, though he did extend the student loan moratorium until May and forgave $12.7 billion in debt. A new study has found that states with weaker gun laws have higher rates of gun deaths. Everytown for Gun Safety conducted the analysis. The group used CDC data, which includes homicides, accidental killings, and suicides committed by guns. Based on the analysis, California had the strongest gun laws in the country. Hawaii topped the list with the lowest rate of gun deaths in the country, while Mississippi led the country with both the weakest gun laws and the highest rate of gun deaths. Jury selection began today in the federal trial of 3 fired Minneapolis police officers facing civil rights charges in the George Floyd case. Thomas Lane, J. Alexander Koenig, and To Tao are facing charges for their part in the deadly arrest of George Floyd. The 3 men are accused of willfully depriving Floyd of his civil rights while their colleague Derek Chauvin kneeled on his neck. The former officers have all pleaded not guilty.
The defense's argument is twofold. Number one, that they did not willfully try to violate the rights of Mr. Floyd. And secondly, that they had no part in what Mr. Chauvin was doing.
If convicted, they could face years in prison. Just about a half hour ago, Governor Andy Beshear announced nearly 14,000 new cases of COVID-19 today, along with another record positivity rate close to 32%. Another Kentucky county has also broken a COVID-19 record. The Madison County Health Department says they reached more than 1,700 cases last week in that county alone. Shelby Lofton talked to people there who say they are anxiously waiting for the Omicron variant to peak.
These are records we don't want to break.
The Omicron variant has proven to be highly contagious, and the people of Madison County are no strangers to that.
On Monday, we had over 1,000 cases for the week. That's a lot of folks who are sick in the county and a lot of people who are dealing with COVID-19.
The Madison County Health Department says COVID-19 is the main illness they're treating.
Currently, we are having a low rate of flu cases in Madison County.
Public Information Officer Kelly McBride says the department is trying to help people get back to work.
A link that we added to our website was a request for a return to work letter. So we're trying to expedite that process.
Many industries have been impacted. Madison County EMS Director Carlos Coyle says this is the most difficult time first responders have ever seen.
A lot of our staff are working tremendous amount of overtime, to keep the ambulances on the roads.
COVID calls aren't only coming from outside EMS headquarters. Many workers are calling in.
We have crew members out with COVID, which staffing is already difficult during these times.
He says those on call are also dealing with snowstorms on top of illness.
The crews are trying to put a gown on for protection over top of a raincoat or, a heavy winter coat.
He says he hopes this variant peaks soon and case numbers drop. In Madison County, Shelby Lofton, WKYT.
The Madison County Health Department says 50.7% of people living there are vaccinated. Coming up on Mountain News at 5:30, is the Build Back Better bill dead, or does it just need a redesign? The conversation's happening behind closed doors to give it new life.
And cold air continues in the region this evening and through tonight. I'll have the latest on how low we go coming up in just a moment. Stay right there.